I'm Tami Dean, and I'm the Visual Design Director for all of Dave's decorated presentation instruments. I'm here at the Monette Studio to take you on a visual tour of our latest creation, the Elysian Trumpet. If you are not familiar with these special instruments, let me start by explaining that the decorated instruments we make together are designed to musically as well as visually tell the life story of the player we are building the horn for. My job is to come up with icons and symbols that depict the elements of the story we're trying to tell. Once I have the symbols drawn up, I saw pierce them into the sheet bracing. I do this all by hand using a jeweler's saw. The Elysian Trumpet was especially challenging to decorate because we combined my saw piercing with high-tech CNC engraving. Although this trumpet was commissioned by Irvin Mayfield of the New Orleans Jazz Orchestra, it is actually designed to tell a broader story, that of both the devastation of Hurricane Katrina, as well as the redemption of its victims and the reemergence of New Orleans as the vital city it once was. The name of the instrument comes from the Elysian fields of Greek mythology, which is the final resting place for heroic and virtuous souls. Before we get to the first brace per se, we see the Mississippi River represented by a sweep of polished turquoise, inlaid into the mouthpiece itself. This is an exact miniature of the 30 miles or so of the river as it passes through New Orleans. The city is represented by a large, faceted ruby near where Elysian Fields Avenue, Louis Armstrong Park, and the Superdome are located. The first symbol on the horizontal brace nearest the player is Sheldon the Cat. This little cat face appears on all the Monette decorated trumpets and refers to Dave's cat Sheldon, who is watching the player as he plays, and imparts his efficient cat-like response as inspiration. Moving forward, we see a blazing drum threatening to ignite the flag of a competing tribe, a reference to the transition to musical battling rather than the actual violence during the Mardi Gras of former days. The flag boy is here represented, as well as the spy boy with their feathers and accoutrement. Further forward is a musical staff with the last bars of the tune A Closer Walk with Thee saw pierced into it. The brace terminates in a parade of red beans and a crawfish, references to some ingredients of New Orleans fine cuisine. The outer shape of this brace is reminiscent of a feather, in a hint of more Mardi Gras Indian paraphernalia. And of course, the spiraling action of Katrina pulls energy toward the front of the Elysian Trumpet in a gesture of transition from devastation to artful musical expression. The middle horizontal brace features a few lilies rent asunder by the hurricane and looking battered by her intensity. The horizontal brace closest to the bell is all about the surge of floodwaters following the storm itself. The outer shape of the brace is defined by a backwash of low, demonic ripples, slow, but determined to evoke the sad effect of rising waters. So here there are tears on this brace, one that is an otherwise celebratory composition of icons. Super Sunday is depicted here, shown in the graphic of a feather headdress and two smaller masks. Another reference to New Orleans cuisine, as well as an income staple of Louisiana, is the pair of little shrimp tumbling in the current of the hurricane. But the broken strings of Mardi Gras beads and the tattered lilies, even a lily as an angel, are reminders of the devastating effects of Katrina's aftermath. The next brace is the forward vertical one, the tuning slide brace. Here appear a few of New Orleans musical legends of the past and present. We find Jelly Roll Morton, James Booker, the Meters, here represented by an alligator they used as a logo at a local live concert, and my favorite, Professor Big Chief Longhair, shown with his dark glasses, fedora, and Indian headdress, whose headband is a piano keyboard. We also find on this brace the first hint of French Quarter wrought iron. This lacy symbol is an amalgam of several different balconies there, and links to the lily theme throughout the horn. The outer shape of the brace is meant to remind us of the satellite pictures of Hurricane Katrina with her menacing teeth-like edges. Next to the tuning slide brace is one the Monette shop refers to as the Hatchet Brace. It adds stability to the structure of the horn and provided a nice interim place to decorate with some imagery of voodoo icons, as well as Mahalia Jackson as the queen of gospel music, and Katrina survivor Fats Domino, who's walking to New Orleans with his suitcase in his hand. The shape of this brace particularly appeals to me. It's a huge stormy wave, windblown by the gales of a hurricane. Ogun, the voodoo deity associated with hunting and ironwork, is symbolized on the hatchet brace by a hunting knife. Shango, god of thunder, is here, always prepared with his double-headed axe. And Eligua, the keeper of the keys to the underworld, is depicted here with his crossed key and trident symbols. The very back vertical brace, closest to the trumpet player's heart, is reserved for imagery related to that great New Orleans giant, Louis Armstrong. Crowned Zulu King in 1946, Armstrong blasts his world-shaking musical innovation from the bell of his trumpet, and under the protection of his parasol, he motivates the second-line dancers into a raucous celebration of the birth of New Orleans jazz. The second-line corollary is death, and the funeral aspect of this particular second line also reminds us of eternal rest for Katrina's victims. The handkerchiefs of the dancers, still damp with the sweat of exuberance, flutter down, transforming into grave markers. Some other features to mention are the valve casing, meticulously engraved by the Monette team using my interpretation of French Quarter wrought iron. Colorful gemstones in Mardi Gras colors, yellow citrine, purple amethyst, and green Savorite garnets, and a few diamonds just for glitz. These were all set by Rick Thurber, local Portland stone setter. The beautiful multicolored finger buttons, fashioned by Dave Monette himself, from sugilite, malachite, black tourmaline, and tiger eye. The 2 finger rings were masterfully carved by Portland goldsmith Mark McNown. And that completes the tour of the Elysian Trumpet. A big thank you to Irvin Mayfield for his inspiration and for the opportunity and privilege to participate in this great collaboration, the Elysian Trumpet.